In the rapidly changing world, I think there's so many benefits that come with AI and with digitalizing your business. There are also a lot of risks today. As you can probably imagine, there's a lot of scamming, there's a lot of password compromise, and really, I think for a lot of small business owners or anyone who's any kind of business online, it can be really, really scary if you have invested all this time and energy, effort, and money into growing a small business, only to wake up one day and see that you've been locked out of all of your accounts. Probably these days, it's really critical to have at least a baseline level of security in your business. And there's a lot of tools and resources which are freely available. I think the government has some resources which I would definitely encourage people to check out. And also, I think other providers who might be in the space. Core things I tell new business owners and try to apply in my own business is to have a multi-factor authentication across all of your critical accounts. So making sure that you've got that on your email accounts and your email addresses, in terms of your accounting software, where you keep your customer databases. I think all of those should go through some kind of multi-factor authentication. I think a password manager would be very useful as well. If your password is 123ABC, I think these days you're just setting yourself up for a really difficult time down the road once you've started getting some revenue, because you're a target for people who are able to exploit that, and unfortunately often they do and they will. The third thing I would really advocate for is just to seek some advice from experts in the field who are able to do the heavy lifting for you, because it is something that's really critical and it's a necessity in, I guess, 2026. There's a lot of disruption happening at the moment in every industry, and that includes the cybersecurity industry as well. With some of the latest models, I think there's a lot of justified anxiety in the security community about how easy it can be to compromise accounts and AI to essentially do the heavy lifting for you. The important thing to know always is that with new problems come new solutions, and a lot of people who are in the cybersecurity industry are really committed to trying their best to disrupt and also minimize the impact of AI-enabled scams and password compromise. And so again, this is why I think it's really important to be really up to date on the resources which are available from the government, through the Australian Cybersecurity Centre, and through small business portals as well. And again, to be really sort of mindful of the resources in your local communities to make sure that you're getting the kind of latest advice on how you can protect your business. If you do suspect that you've been the victim of a scam, the first and most important thing I think to do is to stay calm. A lot of scams in 2026 are really based on trying to get you in a state where you're anxious and highly vulnerable and in a suggestive state. Recently, there was a case where a business owner that I knew got a call from the Australian Federal Police, allegedly, suggesting that all of their crypto wallets had been hacked. And it was a very sophisticated scam. And if not for the fact that they stayed calm and did some verification with other members in the community, particularly with legitimate people in the police who sort of advised this is a known scam, I think there was a high chance that that person might have been vulnerable. And so it can really happen to you at any stage of your business journey. So remaining calm, I think, is the most important thing to do, and not making any quick or rash decisions, because that's often something that they're looking to exploit to make you feel like they're a trusted sort of partner who's going to help you solve that problem. And so really, I think that would be the first thing to do. And secondly, I think to engage the resources available online about I think the Australian Cybersecurity Centre has a really good sort of hotline, and making sure that you're sort of informing the authorities. I think that would be my first suggestion. At the end of the day, it's about minimizing risks, and minimizing risks in a way which is also able to be sort of achieved in your organization. So what we do, I think, is we try and minimize the actual impact of the security process within the day-to-day work that our team does, so that security doesn't become something which is a barrier to doing the work. It's just actually a way that we've done the setup technically and from an organizational perspective from the ground up, so that for our staff, it's actually really seamless to sort of get access to their systems and things. And I think, for me, one of my sort of pub tests, if you will, is, does this system work for my mum? Because as someone who's like really achieving a lot in the community, if she's not able to access the kind of system simply, then we haven't gotten the balance right. And so we do things like try to make it fun in various ways to encourage positive behaviors without sort of being really kind of onerous about how we sort of enforce it. I think especially for payments and especially for bookings, when you're first starting out, I would really recommend using a highly reputable processor, whether it's free or low cost. Square is a good example, Stripe is a good example. Making sure that you're using something which has already been vetted with all of the sort of compliance that's required. Banking and payment processing is a highly regulated space, so I think going with trusted vendors would be really an essential suggestion. It will save you a lot of trouble down the road, and it'll make sure that you're compliant as well yourself while you are taking payments from people. Because really, I think at the end of the day, most scams are trying some way or another to get money from you, and having those payment systems which are really robust will do a lot of good, I think, for you long term as a business owner. An SSL certificate is really important, and I think it's one of several components when you're trying to get up online that is sort of critical. And for you as a new business owner, I think, the SSL certificate makes sure that all the connections on your domain or your website are secure, encrypted, and trusted and verifiable, to give a really high-level, simple explanation of it. And so I think the important thing always here is not so much that you know the ins and outs, the nitty-gritty technically of how an SSL certificate works, but more so that you've put in the right protections in place and that you've kind of covered your bases in terms of the essential kinds of things that you need to be protected online. A lot of small businesses these days tend to advertise through paid advertising or through organic social posts on Google, Meta, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, X, you name it. Those kinds of main platforms. And particularly if you've just been starting out as a small business owner, you probably have had personal accounts on those platforms, and you've been kind of used to not having that level of business sense for how those accounts are protected. The most common compromise that I see and I hear about are compromising like Meta and Google accounts, and I think really those would be the starting place for a lot of small businesses, I'd say, if you are on those platforms. Having backups is a really, really sensible decision to make in your business. It doesn't really cost too much money. You can do it at any point. And particularly if you are the victim of compromise, if you have had your assets encrypted or been sort of locked out of your systems, that sort of information will allow you to continue trading without suffering really big disruption as you're getting your sort of accounts sorted. So there's a number of ways you could do it. If you have access to Google, then you can back it up on Google Drive. Really also backing up offline copies would be something that's useful. And I think really it's about making sure that rather than spending a lot of time and effort trying to back up things, applying that sort of 70-30 rule of, how much effort or what are the things that if tomorrow I got locked out of everything, which systems would be most important to me? And so like for us and for me, I regularly back up accounting data. I regularly back up data about our customers and where projects are up to. And I also back up the whole kind of system that we have so that if something does go wrong or something does fail, and not even just from a scam perspective, life happens. And in those cases as well, knowing that I've got that redundancy in place provides a lot of relief.